I'm the director of Hillel, and on behalf of Hillel and all of our co-sponsors, I want to welcome you here and thank you for coming, and especially Sam and Dee Dee Harris. Thank you so much for honoring us tonight and by coming to our campus. This really is a great honor for us, and Sam, to you for being willing to share your story with all of us and for being here with us. About 2 to 3 years after I started working at Hillel, there was a group that was going across college campuses and across the country, and they would buy advertising in college newspapers, and they would claim that the Holocaust had never occurred. That actually the Holocaust, they would say, was part of an evil plot on behalf of the Jews to make the non-Jewish world feel guilty and to gain power. They chose to do this on college campuses for 2 reasons. One reason was because college students are young enough that you may never have heard about the Holocaust and you may not know any survivors. And also because they felt that the college campus is a place for discussion and for debate. And then maybe in years to come, if they could open up this question for debate, then maybe when there were no longer survivors to bear witness to the Holocaust, others might be able to question in future generations whether or not there really was a Holocaust. And that's why it's so important and so critical that all of us here today are able to hear Sam's story. Because it's our duty, it's our obligation, it's our responsibility to remember the Holocaust. And that's why Sam is here today to share his story. It's also critical to remember the Holocaust because it isn't something that just happened many years ago. It's something that happened in our recent past, but more importantly, there are still hate groups today, even right here on our very own campus, as a registered student organization, that are dedicated to furthering hate, to fighting against diversity, and that would like us to believe that they have the right to promote hatred, bigotry, and oppression under the guise of freedom of speech. But in any case, it most certainly must call out to each one of us to exercise our responsibility to learn about the Holocaust, to learn about how to care, how to love, and how to value and respect the rights of every person to live freely together with one another. And we must have the responsibility of dedicating ourselves to promoting diversity and standing up against hatred. Our duty to remember is bound up in the idea that by remembering, we take the first step to learning to value one another, to learning to value life, and the responsibility of speaking out against evil and hatred. We must pledge, as we listen to Sam, to promote understanding and to promote diversity, to fight out against evil and hatred, to join hands together, to ask difficult questions, and most importantly, we must care when we see our fellow human beings suffer. We must understand that when one of us suffers, we all suffer. We must learn to look into every person's eyes and recognize that every one of us is created in the divine image, and each one of us is essential to our world and to our community. And only then, only when we recognize that, will the words "never again" become a reality. So again, thank you to everyone for coming today, for learning about how to value life, for learning about how to care about one another. And again, thank you, Sam, for being willing to share your message with us. Thank you to our co-sponsors, Bloomington United, COMU, DEMA La Casa Office of Diversity, Episcopal Campus Ministry in Canterbury House, IU Alpha Epsilon Pi Local Chapter, IU Zeta Beta Tau Local Chapter, IU Sigma Delta Tau Local Chapter. And now I'd like to welcome Brandon Haft, who's going to introduce his great uncle.
We are all here tonight to learn from Sam's words. And Sam's going to say a lot about his experiences in the Holocaust, a lot about how he's changed his lifestyle from what he's learned when he's moved to America. And after the Holocaust ended, they moved to America, and they had a choice to choose between two dichotomous lifestyles. One, being a life based on what they were exposed to as a child, that being a life full of hatred and isolation and just hating everyone in the world, which would make sense. It would make sense if they lived a life like that. But they found the optimism, the courage, and the strength to combat that kind of lifestyle and to live a life. They found the inspiration and the hope to live a life full of love and happiness and joy and to inspire others. And Sam will speak about himself, but he travels the country and shares his stories to prevent these things from happening in the future. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sam Harris.
I was wondering, what do you think is the greatest lesson that you've learned from the things you've experienced?
What's the greatest lesson I learned from this experience? Ooh. The greatest lesson from this experience. I think I have learned that we live in a good world, we just have bad people. I think if this world had good people, it would even be better. And I think we must make it a better world because we'll all go down together. There's 7.5 billion people. You look around the world, there's wars going on all over, genocides all over the place, people are killing people. I don't just have to get started in Syria, but all over. And I'm concerned. You know, Iran wants a bomb. Somebody, other people want bombs. You know, what if you save $1 billion, you buy a bomb and you fly over New York or something? I don't know, I'm concerned. I've learned a lesson that people can be evil. I went back to Auschwitz to look at it, and I do not believe that what I saw was true and I was there. I was there with a guy by the name of Ernie Michel. His job was in Auschwitz to carry bodies out of experiment by Mengele. Room 10. He cleared out thousands of bodies, he said. He said to me, Sam, and just the two of us were standing there. He said, Sam, I don't believe this happened. And I said, Ernie, I don't believe it happened either. I cannot believe that people could do those things. So I have learned that we have a beautiful world, and all of you and all of us have to keep it that way. It's the best I can do.
Many people said that Jews represented like no resistance whatsoever. I would just like to know what you think about that.
Well, many people say the world is flat too. That is not true. Let's go to the Warsaw Ghetto. Here we have the Warsaw Ghetto.
My grandparents were there.
Oh, so they were there.
Yeah.
Do you know that Jews without ammunition and all this lasted longer than all of Poland when Germany came in? That was resistance. They were hiding in the, I don't have to tell you the history, then you know about it. Your grandparents told you they were hiding, they fought back. Did you ever hear of Sobibor? Sobibor, the worst concentration camp. The Jews resisted and ran and killed the Nazis. This went on all over the place. There was resistance all over. But they don't talk about it. You know, I wouldn't mind giving a speech someday just on resistance. There are books written on it. Go and look under Google and type in Jews and resistance, okay? Might be very interesting. Good question. I asked 2 people. I'm a nice guy. I don't hurt anybody. Never have. But you know, I'm only a human being. If, I don't know what would happen if somebody would march in front of me with a Nazi helmet and a swastika. I don't know what my mind would happen. I had 2 people come to me, they wouldn't let me go. There were people there with guns, clubs. They could have ignited to something terrible. And I'm glad I wasn't there because I don't know what I would have done. So I was not there personally. But we have purposely built the museum, the Illinois Holocaust Museum and Education Center. It belongs there. It's resistance. It's a form of resistance, fighting back through education. Not only to help the Jewish people, but the people of all. We passed a law in Illinois that says all public school kids have to study the Holocaust. And we went back. We took a train and we went back. We added a codicil, a little addendum to the law, not only to study the Holocaust, but other genocides. So we're studying other genocides, the kids, and the Holocaust. And it's important because I feel it's education that will make this a better world. If you tell me there's something better, please let me know because I will be involved.
I've been to the Skokie Holocaust Museum. It's absolutely beautiful. Well, it's just like going from idea to beautiful museum that it is today. Almost thousands of people.
It's absolutely magnificent. This museum I was involved in it for 15 years from day one. 2 nights ago, I had an executive meeting late at night. We still work at it. But let me tell you the joy that I get from the museum. Every time I drive by, I see 12 yellow buses. The kids go through them. You see them? Kids are learning education. How I remembered my past, and I told you that I wrote down on yellow piece of paper short stories. And eventually my wife said this ought to be in a book. And that's what this book is about, Sammy. You know, it tells my whole story in good memory, and it's short and it's to the point, and it talks about Rosa, it talks about me. I think it's a fantastic little book. It's been accepted all over the United States. Kids read it, teachers use it, and it's been very well received, and I think it's been translated. Oh, you know what's happening? Like I had a professor, a professor from a Russian professor. He said, boy, this thing has to be done in Russian. So he interprets it, now it's over Russian. A Japanese person said, it's got to be done in Japanese. And I have a Bosnian and so on. It's been translated in about 6 or 7 languages, none of which that I asked for. People feel, and they interpret it in Spanish too. So it's been interpreted. It's a good little book. I recommend that you take it. And if I'm out there, I'll be more than happy to sign it. Anyway, you're going to get a special price. I guess it's $10.
My sister actually met Sam first at an equitable meeting and called me and asked me if I'd like to meet a young man. He was young once. And she was taken with his charm, which I'm sure you can't understand. And so I met him and I was taken with him too. I knew I was going to marry him after the second date. I told my mother, that I met the man I'm going to marry. And I was 22 at the time, and Sam was 24, and we got married in 6 months.